Let me just start by saying Die Def and Forsaken are two asymmetrical horror games that I really like, but each one of them has their own strengths and weaknesses, or things that I wish the other game would implement, so I thought it would be fun to compare different aspects of these games and give them points depending on which one is better. With that said, neither game is truly better than the other. I just want to talk about what I like more about each game. Please don't hate me, it's just my opinion. With that said, hit that like button and subscribe, and let's get started. The first thing I want to talk about is the killers. I would say both games have really cool killers with their own playstyles, abilities, and awesome designs. However, I think the killers in Die Def end up being more different from each other than in Forsaken. Every killer in Die Def feels like a unique experience, where Pursue being a basic slash chase them down type of character, Badware focusing on setting up and snowballing, Artful having lots of strategy and requiring more creative playstyle, etc. Don't get me wrong, Forsaken has plenty of unique aspects in their killers, with 1X and John standing out from the rest, and Noli's hallucination ability being really cool. But they also share a lot more similarities. Noli, Cool Kid, and Guess 666 all have a fast leaping slash lunge ability and some kind of range projectile. This was especially the case before they buffed Noli's hallucination ability, and it was basically just cosmetic. He felt like a more interesting version of Cool Kid with a teleport. So in this case, I'm going to give 1 point to Die Def for their killers having more unique and different playstyles. However, there is something that Forsaken does a lot better in terms of killers, and that's malice. Both games use a similar system for becoming a killer, getting evil slash malice points after each game, and whoever has the most points gets to be the killer. Straightforward, not luck based, very valid. But there is a key difference between the two. In Forsaken, you gain malice through solving generators. In Die Def, you get evil through successfully using your abilities, since there aren't any generators. So for example, landing a shot with the revolver will give you some evil. You also passively get some from playing, but it's not very much. While this does sound like a better idea, forcing people to actually play the game instead of just camping generators, it kinda sucks. Becoming the killer in Forsaken doesn't take very long, as you only need to grind generators for a couple of games, and boom, it's your turn. But in Die Def, holy cow, it takes forever. During my first recording of this game, it took me 47 minutes to become a killer once. That's right, almost an entire hour. Of course, this does depend on how well you use your abilities, but still, that's an insane amount of time. If I wanted to play every killer, I'd be there for hours. Certain abilities do earn evil faster, like Caretaker, Gunslinger, Banana, and Punch, but that forces you to play a certain way. In Forsaken, you can pick any survivor you want and still become killer in a reasonable amount of time. So in this case, I'm going to give a point to Forsaken for not having as much of a wait to become killer. Speaking of picking survivors, that's one of the most fundamental differences between Forsaken and Die Def. In Forsaken, you can pick between 11 different survivors with their own unique abilities and playstyles. You can choose to play a support role with Elliot, defend your teammates with Guest, or run away like a with Veronica. But in Die Def, at the start of each game, you have to pick between 3 pairs of abilities, which are completely randomized. Sometimes you get screwed over and have some terrible abilities, like Taunt or Hot Dog, or you'll get something you really wanted, like Revolver or Carepad. Many may find this frustrating, especially if you're a tryhard and trying to get the best win-loss ratio. This randomized system promotes a more casual playstyle, forcing you to adapt to what you were given, and preventing sweats from constantly abusing the most broken abilities. To be honest, I really like it. Forsaken has become an extremely toxic and sweaty community, with lobbies being filled with exclusively the best characters, and it definitely does not promote a friendly environment. In contrast, keeping abilities randomized helps a lot with the balancing of the game. Certain abilities are definitely better than others, and if players had the choice, people would always pick Dash, Carepad, etc. This will make the game painfully boring, but because people can't always pick the best options, it makes each game a unique experience and keeps things balanced. If Forsaken managed to perfectly balance every single character in the game, the survivor system would definitely be cooler and more fun. But we all know that balancing is not Forsaken's strong suit, so in its current state, I think Die Def's randomized abilities earns the game another point. Oh yeah, now that we mentioned balancing, let's talk about that. I'm just gonna say it, Die Def easily wins. If you've seen any videos on Forsaken recently, Veronica is running absolutely rampant, completely destroying the balancing of the game. Guess 66 has been nerfed to the ground, and to this day, I hate 2-time. In comparison, as we said earlier, the randomization keeps abilities balanced, and in terms of killers, at least when I made my ranking video, I thought the killers were pretty equal in Die Def. The only one that felt underpowered was Artful, but that's only because they're very map dependent. Every killer can have a great game, and none of them feel particularly overtuned or fundamentally broken, except for maybe Pursuer. They have a fair amount of counterplay, but all feel fun to play. So yeah, another point for Die Def. Now, let's talk about another important gameplay aspect of Die Def, which you have probably been waiting for: special modes. Every 3 rounds, a special mode is played instead of the regular one, like a killer free-for-all, a team of killers versus one overpowered survivor, and my personal favorite, Evil Scary. In this mode, there's a strange black orb with hands that pursues the nearest player, and upon touching them, instantly kills them. The funniest part of this is it actually applies to the killers as well, and embarrassingly, I've died to it on livestream before. What is happening? I'm not very good at this game. Regardless, this is a super fun feature and keeps the experience fresh and prevents it from becoming monotonous. Forsaken, please add this. It's such a fantastic feature. Easy point for Die Def. Now, let's talk about something a little less interesting, but arguably one of the most important things for a good asymmetrical game: hitboxes. Since both of these games are hosted on Roblox, hitboxes are always gonna suck. If you're playing over 100 ping, you cannot play seriously, as it's going to be nearly impossible to juke the killer's hits hits as they magically hit you from a mile away. But for some reason, I don't know what kind of black magic Forsaken has used, the hitboxes in Forsaken feel way better. In Die-Def, I get hit by the most ridiculous stuff, and sometimes hits go straight through me and do no damage. Like, look at the screenshot. How is that hitting me? Also, hitboxes can go through walls in this game, which isn't too bad, but can make it feel pretty unfair to try and loop killers or strafe their attacks. While the hitboxes in Forsaken aren't perfect either, I haven't had nearly as many issues with them as I have had in Die-Def. I believe they have some kind of system to compensate players of high ping. I don't know how that works, but it does, so Forsaken gets a point. Now, my next topic isn't really something that actually matters, but regarding skins, both games are excellent. I love that pretty much every skin in Die-Def has a chase theme, and some are super well designed, but I feel like most of them are a bit restricted in their design, all trying to look retro. Forsaken doesn't have chase themes for every skin, but I say they have a lot more creative freedom, with some skins looking absolutely incredible, like Annihilation John, Abinoli, etc. This isn't relevant to the video, I just wanted to compliment the skin developers for both games. You guys are great. But yeah, that's pretty much all the points I have to address. That leaves us with 2 points for Forsaken and 4 points for Die-Def, which means Die-Def wins. Of course, this does not mean that Die-Def is actually better than Forsaken. I just think there's a lot of things that Forsaken could add that Die-Def already has, and vice versa. Overall, I'd say Forsaken is more welcoming to a competitive community with better hitboxes and a survivor system that lets you master a certain character, while Die-Def promotes a more casual and fun experience with overall a more balanced but randomized system. If I had to give any advice to the games, please Die-Def, make it faster to become killer and fix your hitboxes. And Forsaken, please add special game modes and nerf Veronica to the ground. With that said, let me know in the comments below how you feel about this and whether or not I forgot anything. Hit that like button and subscribe if you enjoyed, and consider joining my Discord. I'm usually active there after posting. See you guys in the next video.